Yeah, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's class. We'll continue from where we stopped in the last class, where we stopped at just implementing the functionalities of the game. And in this class, we'll be implementing the I score and also the reset function of the game. So, Paul, go ahead and give us the steps in using to implement the I score for the game. So let's go. Yeah, let's go, Paul.
Okay. From sorry.
What's the first thing we have to do?
The first thing is to let score equals to 0.
Score. Why are we letting our score equals to 0? Is it not the I score we are working with?
The I score, sorry.
Okay.
I want with
Okay,
sorry.
I score.
Yeah,
Others,
you let I
others,
score.
others in the chat box can always give us more suggestion if you think what you are doing is wrong. I score equals 0. All right. So what's the next
Yeah.
thing?
Then you have to go and like give it a function because it's just not from there. You say if score is greater than high score, because score
If
already we know if score is greater than high score.
where are we performing that function? Where are we performing that?
You are performing the function at that guess equals to number.
Guess equal to number. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let's try it.
So are you there?
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening to you.
Okay. If score is greater than high score, then
If
curly bracket. If
if
score is greater than
score
high score,
if score is greater than I score.
then curly bracket.
Okay. All right.
High score equals to score.
Okay.
Then document dot query selector. You now select the high score this thing on our HTML, which is high score.
Document dot query selector. What do we is it I score? Where is it?
Yeah, I think
What's
it's
the
dot high
class name?
score.
I score. Okay,
Yeah,
I
it's
score.
high score.
All right.
Then you do dot text content equals to high score because you don't want it to be a number at that game. You only want it to be 0.
What did you say?
Document dot query selector high score. Then dot
Okay.
text content
Okay.
equals high
Equals
score.
equals I score.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the next thing we have to do?
I think we from that let's test it whether it work because that's
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So let's test this and see. Before we test, does anyone have any contrary opinion? Well, I'm using an extension. I'm using an extension in Java on my VS Code. If a spelling is wrong, it's actually going to indicate that I have a wrong spelling. So that's why I'm having those indicator. So if I put a space in between them, it's going to go away, but there can't be a spacing when you're naming a variable in JavaScript. Adilaja, do you understand? Yeah, so does anyone have any contrary opinion in Java? I said in JavaScript. Does anyone have any contrary opinion to what we just implemented just now? Does anyone have any contrary opinion? So it's only Paul that tried this thing out. No other person tried it out. Wow. So it's only Paul that tried it out. No other person tried it out. Miriam, what's your contrary opinion? What contrary opinion do you have? Unmute and speak, Miriam. This is going to be an interactive class. It's you guys that are going to tell me how we are going to implement this. Though we have a long way to go in this class. I'm also going to teach you about the tasks that I give. I want to give you some introductory aspects into it so that you guys just figure out most of the functionality. So we still have a long way to go in this class. I'm still going to teach you how to use CSS to add classes dynamically from a JavaScript. So let's speed up. So nobody has any other contrary opinion. So let's try that out. Olatibos, why is it looking like Chinese to you? You will still actually play. You will actually build a game for yourself. So let's try this now. 10, 19 is too high. 10 is too high. Let's do 5. Let's do 7. Wow, correct. Paul, it actually worked. So the function we actually wrote is actually correct. Yeah, Paul, that was actually a good one. You actually tried it out and it worked. Yeah, that's. But the function is not yet complete. Paul, go ahead. Your hand is raised. But the function is yet to be completed. The function is yet
Yes.
to be completed. So, what's the next thing we have to do?
You mean the high score is yet to be completed?
Yeah, the function is yet to be, though it's correct. Though it's correct, but we have to still do something to it.
Okay, I think what I did here on that else if guess number is greater than guess is greater than number, I actually put it another else in a context that if you lose the game, you get there will be a message pop out, and also if like the score, if the score is actually 0, that's where you lose the game. So I think that's when we implement the again, I think that's when the high score is going to work perfectly.
Okay, so now we still have something to implement. Okay, on the high score is actually correct. What you did on the high score is actually correct. You actually did something perfect. So what you now have to do on the other part here is actually that, okay, once the score is greater than 1, it should say, okay, let's implement that function that you said. So all of this on this line, oh yeah, let's tell us what you have to do. I think you are the guru here. You are going to start taking our classes. So if score
Abeg.
minus 1, if score greater than 1, right?
Yeah, if score is greater than 1.
Okay. What do we have? We have document.query selector. You have a guess, right? Is this what we have,
Yeah.
or I'm just using my own idea because I've built the game before?
No, sir, I
Else,
think you are confusing me now.
how am I confusing you?
That's not the way me I did my own.
Okay, how did you do your own?
I
Yeah,
think
tell me.
on that, when on that area where the player actually gets a wrong number, that's where we are going to put an else. Where guess
Wait.
is greater than number, then the next thing should be if score is greater than 1, document.query selector. Then the contents of that message should be you guess an higher number.
And
Then
it's still the same thing. Wait, calm down. I think you're the one that is mixing it up. Okay, now if score is
okay,
greater than
okay,
1,
okay.
document.query selector does message equals you guess an higher number. Score
Okay,
minus.
okay.
So you minus it, then the document.query selector equals the score. So else, if the number is now less than 1, if the number is less than 1, so the next thing you have to do is you do document.query selector dot text
Yeah.
content equals you lost the game.
Yes. I think yes.
You lost the game. That is actually what is. So you now have to do it's the same thing you did for the score. You now have to actually do it. You do document dot query selector dot score.
Equals 0. Dot content
Score.
selector equals 0. Text
Okay.
content. Text
Dot
content equals
content
0.
equals 0.
0. Yes.
So that's actually it. So you're actually saying the right thing. It's just that you didn't What is the high score supposed to mean? The high score is just for you to know the high score. Okay, now you play the game at first. You have an high score of 19, and you want to play again. You want to beat your high score. It's just you trying to beat your high score over and over again. You know there are games when you are playing a game, you have an high score, and once you play it at first, you have an high score of like say 10, and you want to play again. You want to have an high score of 15. So that's just what the high score does. So do you understand now, Adilaja? So Paul, we
Yeah,
just have to. So now we just have to. What's the name? We just have to
we still
replicate.
need, yeah,
We
we
have
still
to
need to do the
replicate it
same.
for the number.
Exactly, yes. You still need to
Okay,
do the same for the less than, guess number less than, guess less than
okay. So
number.
let's do it now. So let's just cut this one out.
Yeah,
So we do if
scroll.
if score
It's greater than one.
greater than one. There is something you guys should also learn is how to copy and paste code. It is not that you are not a good developer, but it's just going to make your work faster. So instead of you trying to write the code all over from the beginning, it's just something that it should. Yeah, I don't like copying and pasting code, but when I was at work, a senior colleague just told me it's not going to do you any harm. Just copy and paste the code. It's not as if you don't know it. It's just for you to write code faster. So that's it. So I'm just going to
Yes,
copy and paste
exactly.
it, and yeah, we are good to go. So our game, our game is actually okay. What is the difference between query select document or get element by class name and document or get element by query selector? Okay, the difference between both of them is query selector is you can use to select anything. You can actually use query selector to select anything, okay, but you have to put a dot in front of it. It's just the same way you are doing it in your CSS, that you have that when you want to style your CSS, you put a dot and the class name. You put a dot and the class name in front of it. That is one of the things we do if you want to style in CSS. So the same thing we do in query and document.query selector. We are just targeting the class name. That's why we have to put this dot in front of it. If you want to do it by document, let's do document. Let's change this one to document dot get element by class name. This is what we are just going to do. We just put this and we'll put score in front of it. We don't have to put the dot any longer. Dot text content. Dot text content. So you just put a 0 in front of it. Yes, the same thing you have to do for document.get element by ID. Instead of you putting an hash in front of it, you just do this document.get element by ID. But if you are using a query selector for it, you have to put an hash in front of it. So that's just the difference. If you are using document.query selector to get a class, you have to put a dot in front of it. If you are using query selector to get an ID, you have to put an hash in front of it.
Can you scroll up, sir?
So this is it. So do you understand that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. So let's. Okay. What I said is, if you want to do, okay, let me take it back. So now, if you are doing document query selector and you want to select an element using a class name, you have to do a dot and a class name, which is what we do in our CSS. If you want to do document get element query selector and you want to target an ID, what you have to do is you put the hash in front of it, which is what you use to target the ID. If you now want to do document.get element by class name, you don't need to put the dot in front of it. You have already told JavaScript that, you want to get this by the class name. The only thing you just have to do is you just put the class name. which is what I did on line 42. If for line 43, if it's the same thing, get element by ID, score. The score is actually this. The score is actually, what's the name? The score is actually the ID name. So what's the next thing we just have to do? We just have to put the score without putting the hash in front of it. Well, there is no really best practice. It just depends on the developer actually. But for me, I like to use query selector. So I don't have to start thinking of, okay, which one is the class name, which one is the so I just do an hash so that my code is actually explanatory to other people. So it's going to be explanatory if I use get element by ID or get element by class name, but I just use query selector. It is based on personal preference. There is no best practice. Sometimes you just have to pick your own style of coding. So that's why I said that some of the things I do is if it's by best practice, I'll let you know it's best practice. But if it's by personal preference, I'll let you know it's by personal preference. So there's no personal, this one I'm just doing is just based on personal preference, not like it's the best practice. So that's just it. Yeah, Damlola, your hand is raised.
I'm sorry, probably I came late. I just wanted to explain the one you cleaned now, the get element by ID, or is it the same thing as the query selector?
When you are using query selector, I'm going to explain this for the last time. I was supposed to return you back to go and watch the YouTube video for what you said, but let me just explain it for the last time. If you are using query selector and you want, okay, this is it. This query selector.score, this is actually the class name of the elements, which is query selector.score. Yes. That is, you are selecting this class. If you now want to do document the query selector and you want to do for an ID, this is what you are going to do. You have to put an hash in front of it and you put a score. And you write whatever you want to write. Dot text content, no, there's not supposed to be space. Dot text content equals you lost the game. Just something like that. This is for query selector to select an ID. If you want to use document dot query selector dot get element by ID dot get element by ID, what you just have to do here is you don't need to put the hash in front of it. You just put a score. You just put a score. You just put the ID name in front of it. And the next thing, you just have to write what you want to write. And if it's for class name, you just do the same thing. You just do class name. Did I get this? Okay, you just do by class name and it's still the same thing. So it's just you removing if you are using query selector, you have to put the hash and the dot. But if you are using class name or ID, you don't have to put either the hash or the dot in front of it. Do you understand, Damlola?
Very well, I understand. Very well. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So what's the next thing we have to do now? The next thing we have to do now is we have to implement
the again button.
We have to implement the again button. So let's try that. Does anyone want to help us out? I don't want what is the name? I don't want Paul to help us with the again button. I want someone else to help us with the again button. So who wants to help us out? Who wants to help us out? Why should Paul help us out? That means it's only Paul. That means
please explain what do you mean by again button? Like, sorry.
Okay. If you click on this again button, the game has to reset to the default setting if someone has won the game already. So that is what I mean by again button. So do you understand it now?
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to help us out with it?
I don't know. Let's just go to the code so that I'll just try to understand something if I can do it.
Okay.
Please, before we go to the code, because I would like to help out, but I need to understand what we are doing so I can help out.
Okay.
I don't.
What you're actually doing here is that it's just simple actually. Okay, now we have played this game. We have 10 higher number. We have 20. Let's do higher. We have 5 higher. We have 1 lower. We have 2. We have 2 lesser. We have 3 lesser. Why? We have 4. 4 is the right number. So now that we have had 4 already, we now want to restart the game. Want to restart the game. What do we have to do? We have to just click on this again button. Once you click on this again button, it has to clear everything we have here. It has to actually clear everything we have here. So
when it clears it, everything will be 0, 0, 0.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, like the reset button.
Yeah, like a reset button. Instead of me, let me just say reset button.
Okay, I understand now. Then this, you guess the correct. What will be there? Nothing.
It's going to turn back to start guessing.
Okay, noted. Let's go.
All right. Oh yeah. I like that spirit. I like that. Let's go. So what is the first thing we have to do?
Okay. We referenced the again button. I don't know if we have const to
We have not
I don't know
configured.
what.
Okay, let's go to our Java. Let's go to our HTML and see what is the button class. The button class is the name of the class is again. Is again
Okay.
right here. So let's go to our JavaScript. So what do we do?
Okay, so it will be const.
It's not going to be a const. That is a button. Want to add an event listener to it. We have to
But
first add.
that's what I was. You said have you referenced it, like, before you can add an
No,
event
we have not
listener.
referenced it. We have not referenced it.
I'm trying to say, okay, like const press again is equal to.
No,
the way we write code is different. It's the way I write in my own.
Okay, you have to read const. Okay, let's try it. Okay, let's try it. Const. Okay.
Press again. Press again with name of a variable.
Press again. Okay.
Is equal to document.querySelector.
Document.querySelector. Okay, dot. All right.
Again.
Dot again.
That's the class, right?
Yeah, that's the class.
Okay, good. Then now that do not do that. So now I'm going to put press again dot add event listener. That's where.
Add event listener. All right, I like this. All right, let's go.
Okay, then click. Click. Like I write differently, but let me follow the way you've been doing it since.
No, it's good. Let's use your own pattern. Someone else can learn.
So let me go with
my own pattern is not the perfect pattern. So let's continue.
Okay, so the name of my function now is let me say reset. Let me say reset button. Let me just put it like that. Reset button. Okay. So I go up to define this function reset, but reset that will now say const reset button on line 48. On line reset button.
Reset button.
What you do is equal like a function. I will use an arrow. I want to write an arrow function. Just give me the arrow function syntax. Then I will tell you what to do. Okay. Good. Yes, that's what I wanted to do. So now I will not define what reset button is. So when I click on the button, you said everything should be 0. Everything should go back to 0.
Score equals 20. That means that's what we have with our score here. Score equals 20. So what is the next thing?
But sure, you said the score will be 0. Everything will be 0 now. Is that not what you said?
The score has to be 20 now. You know the starting score is 20.
Okay, fine. Okay, no problem. Then let's go to it. Can you show me the interface of where the that green one, the one we did that was green? Let me just see all the. So I will make reference to each of the classes. Let me just see that So now this is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to achieve. So score, according to what you said, will be 20. Abi?
Yeah, Yes,
I
score is going to
score.
be 20.
I
I
score will be
score is going to
0.
be, yeah.
Okay. Then this you guess the correct number will be start
Start
guessing,
guessing.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Then okay, good. Then this place that we will not put any number here, right?
We're not
There will
going
be
to
no
put
number here, will be 0.
yeah.
Okay, I know. So I don't know what you call this, the name of all these our classes. So you will help me. Now I know when I say high
Okay.
score, you tell me what is there. Then
Okay.
so let's go. Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay. So now for
So
high score now, what's the name of the function?
the I
Like when
score
we
is the name of the class is also I
class,
score. We
yes.
define I score here as 0.
Good.
So
Okay, high score is 0.
I score equals 0.
Okay.
Okay. So
Then that you guessed what's it called? You guessed what's the name of that class? There's a
document
paragraph there.
document the query selector. You have to use a query selector. You know we didn't define it. Document the query selector dot message dot text content equals start guessing. So which is what we have right here. Which is what we
Sorry,
have right here.
can you hear me now? Sorry, I got a
Yeah, I
call.
can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah, I can hear you.
okay, okay, good. A document docker is okay. Is start guessing. Then
Yeah.
then there's another one that was there that there's another. Is there any other person that needs to be 0 that I have not mentioned?
The
Because
secret number.
the secret number should be 0. Is there
The
the secret
secret
number
number
is not
has
the
to
one
be a question.
you
It has to be a
imputed?
question mark. It has to be a
You said?
question mark. This number has to be hidden. That number has to be
Okay,
hidden. Okay.
okay. This number has to be hidden. But it's showing there now. Because I'm trying to understand everything.
Once you click this again button, it has to be a question mark that is there. It has to be a
Okay.
question.
Okay. So what I want to ask is that what is the class for this one that is this where the 4 is?
Where the 4 is, okay,
Uh,
it should actually be that's number. It's actually
okay.
number.
Okay, good. Okay. So let's work on it then. So let it be number dot test content.
You can't use the text content actually.
Okay, because I don't know it.
What you just have to do here is just simply copying this number, this part, on this line 6. We're already running late. On this line 6, we just have to copy it and paste it down here. So now that we
Okay.
are reassigning this number, on line 20, on line 53, we have to change this to a let instead of a const. Since we are
Okay.
reassigning it,
But it's changing.
we have to change it. Yeah, so
Okay. That's the
so
one from what I understood. That's what I can do. Is there anyone that I have not done for me? I don't.
so let's check it out.
Eh.
Let's see. So the number also, we now have to do document dot. We have to return back. What's the name? The question mark to the front of the screen. Document the query selector dot number. Is that what we have right here? I'm coming just a second. Let me just finish this. Where is it? Number. We have to return back the question mark. The text content equals this question mark. So I think with this we are done. I think with this we are done. So let's try it out. Let's try it out. Text content. What? Paul, you said text content. Question mark is question mark, not a string. Paul, is question mark not a string? If you do this, it's going to throw an error. Question mark is not defined anywhere in your code, so you have to put it in a string. So let's check it out. So ID, what's the issue?
Just a quick one. I was also thinking that the class of is it guess should it have like an empty string since there's nothing in there. It's meant to show blank. I don't know if
Okay,
I'm right.
that's true. That's true
Yeah.
actually.
Document dot query selector dot guess text content then an open string.
Okay. Instead of me writing that, let me just duplicate this line and do guess with an empty string. So you know who was the person speaking the other time?
It was Josephine. Was it difficult when we started?
Yeah. So you know we have to reset the background color also. We have to reset the background color. So it's just the same thing, document dot query selector. We have to add the body, body, body style
dot background color.
Background color. Where is background color? Where is background color? This background color equals hash 2222. So I think we are done with our reset. So let's try this out. Let's try this out. So 10. What do we have? Higher number. Let's do a 5. Higher. How is it higher? Let's do a 1 less. Let's do a 2. Correct. So now let's reset. Is this going to work? Before I click the reset button, does anyone have a contrary opinion to if it's going to work or not? Does anyone have any contrary opinion? No one. So let's try it out. Yeah. So our game is actually working, but the score is still 17 instead of 20. Olatiloye, go ahead.
We didn't do the query selector for score.
Did we?
So that's why it's still 17.
Okay, query selector. Oh, we didn't do query selector for score actually. So let's do that for score. Score. Score equals score.
So equals score, yeah.
So I think we are done. Let's try it again. So yeah, Paul, there are different methods to you writing code. So the method she actually did was, I'll explain the method she did actually, which is actually a good practice. Let's do 10. Let's do 11. Oh. So now so you can see the score and everything is back to normal. So we have implemented the reset button of our game. So Paul,
About the high score.
actually,
we still have issue with high score. I think we didn't change that.
The high score can't change now. The high score has to remain there in case the high score can't reset back to 0 because you are not resetting the high score. If you want to play again, the essence of you resetting the game is for you to play again and beat the high score that is there previously. That's it actually. So do you understand? That's it.
Yeah.
So Paul, let me explain what she did in this code. What she did right here is actually a good practice. It's going to save you from actually repeating yourself all over and over again. Simply because on this line of code here now, if we want to actually use this reset button somewhere else, we have the reset button in another place in our game. And we don't want to recall the function over and over again. What we just have to do is, we have done this function of reset button right here, and we have attached this we have attached the button to this. What do we need to do? We just have to call it here. We have assigned the variable of press again, which is this button of again. We just do press again dot add event into click, which is a click event, and a reset button. That means while we are calling this reset button here, we actually call it, by the time we click this add event listener, we are actually calling this reset function, which is actually a good practice of writing your code. What she just did here is simply that don't repeat yourself, and which is something we are supposed to implement with all these guesses, simply because by the time you are clicking, all what we did right here on from line 25 to line what's the name, from line 25 to, for the guess is actually higher than the number, is actually the same thing for lesser number. So what we did right here on line 25 and line 35 is actually repeating ourselves. And there's something, while you are programming, there's something called the dry principle. What is the dry principle? Do not repeat yourself. That is what the dry principle does. The moment you are having the same line of code in multiple places, it's better you have a single function that is going to call that function anytime you just need it. You're just going to attach a variable to it with the same way we have done that online, the same way we did it on line 48. The same way we did, you just have to attach it to a variable and you can keep calling it at any point you like it. So at any point you want to call it rather. So the same way we can keep calling this multiple times. We can keep calling this multiple times and the reset function is going to work. But if you actually want to do it the normal way we have been doing it previously, we have to be writing that we have to be writing it over and over and over again, which is going to take more time than us just defining it once. The way we have defined it once here, we just have to keep calling reset button with the click function, and it's going to work wherever we need it in our code. So do you understand, Paul? It's not a long process actually.
Yeah,
But
I understand. I think it's better.
Yeah, so it's actually a good practice. So I think we are done with our game, and that's all we have for the game. So any concern about the game or any question that you want me to answer again? Do you understand the game perfectly well?
So I have a question.
Okay.
Yes,
That?
my own is not actually like a question, but I'm just considering that there are people that are inside here that, let me see, some of us, maybe because we are not asking questions, but totally the comments I want to make is that what you are trying to do in this reset button is to go back to initial game mode that we've not added any effect. So I'm just trying to explain to them that we've not done anything, anything. It's just to go back to the initial mode of the game when we have not added any function to the game. You get? So
yes, that's what
I wanted.
Yeah. So sorry sir, it does not reset if the game lost. We didn't implement that function. If you want to implement that function of, okay, once the game is lost, you reset the game, it's still the same thing. It's still the same thing you just have to do. It's still the same thing you just have to. Once the game is lost, you just have to that means you have to call this this again function at the top level. You just have to call this reset button at the top level so you can be able to access it inside your code. So let's do this right up here. So let's move this to the top level. Let's move this to this part right here. Let's move it right here. So on this, by the time our guess is actually less and the game is lost, we just have to do, what's the name? Reset button. That's what we just have to do. And once we have a 0, everything resets automatically. So that's what you just have to do. Oh, Miriam, can you hear me? Or probably it's your network actually. Sorry, please confirm you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
I
Miriam,
can hear
please,
you.
it's your network then. So I think with this, we have completed our game. So let's just try it out and see that everything we have here is working perfectly well. Then let's keep doing this. And yeah, what what you have here is you lost the game and everything reset back to 0. So I think we have done that already. So you have to click again and you start the game all over again. So for the task, I actually want to show you, before I go into the task, I actually want to show you something of index.js 18. There's an error, index.js 18. Okay. So for the task, before that, I actually want to show you something on how you can dynamically add class to your what's the name? Before we go into that, does anyone have any question with this? Yeah, please. Does anyone have any question with this, or are we all clear?
I think we will rewatch.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
okay, like what I will do. Join late.
Okay.
Maybe I'll
All
reward.
right. That's
Can
the
you push it
perfect
to
way to go
GitHub?
about it. Yeah. What did you say?
Can you push it to GitHub?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to push it to GitHub, and also the other working with class that we are going to do, working with class and actually doing some modification, like working with do manipulation of adding CSS class dynamically from JavaScript is actually something we are going to work on. So let's, if you don't have any question with this game, if you don't have any question with this game, then let's move on into that. So what we are actually going to do with the next DOM manipulation is actually something simple, which is this. Let me go to that game, which is modal.html. Modal.html slash modal.html. So this is it. On click of these buttons, there should be a text content that is going to show, which is this. Let's go to the HTML of the code. So now, by the time you click that button, let me remove this hidden class. So by the time you click on that button, this modal should actually show up. This modal should actually show up, and by the time you click on the X button, it should actually close. And this is the same content that is going to show for the 3 of them. So do you guys understand? Let me tell you what you are going to do. So by the time you click on one of them, each this content has to show for each one of them. So practically that, okay, you are adding the class to each one of them. By the on click of this button, on click of each one of them, what should show is this content. And by the time you click on X, the thing should collapse back into it. So you will see this on most websites actually, where they are trying to just display a pop-up modal or something. This is actually called a modal in JavaScript, or in any, it's just the standard name across all board. It's called a modal. So that's what you are going to implement in this section. And I'm going to just run through it so that I can actually, yeah, especially on school websites. No, this is not your task. So the task you're actually working on is actually a dice roll game. It's actually a dice roll game, which I'm going to show you in a bit. So let's go into this and just clear this up so we can start right away. So let me just add the class name back to it. So which disclaimer? Okay, yeah, so add and disclaimer. So let's go right into it. So the JavaScript, we have our CSS, and also the JavaScript is just an empty file. So can anyone Can anyone help us out with what we are going to do? So since you understand DOM manipulation, let's see if you understand what we want to do. Does anyone understand?
I understand. So
Okay.
what you want us to do now is the way you just when we click on the mode 1 to show that modal, then when we click on that X, it will disappear. That's what we want to achieve.
Yeah, and also there are some styling that are going to be added to it behind this thing. Like if you go to some website and you click on this and you click on this, you will see that the background will be like a little bit dark. The background will be like a little bit darker than the normal content. Like there's going to be like a black background on it. So that is what we are going to implement in this. So let me just run, and at any point, yeah, an overlay, exactly, an overlay. So let me just run, and let's start it one after the other so you can actually understand what we are going to do. So I don't have to because before by 11:30 I want to jump directly into the task so that you guys can have an head start for the task and follow through from there. So this is it. So let's start. So the first thing we have to do is we have to select the modal. Const modal equals document the query selector. So one thing we are selecting here is the modal, which is this modal. We are selecting the modal, which is this. We are selecting this modal. So we are going to do that dot modal. Okay. The next thing we want to do is to select an overlay. So do we have an overlay right here? Our overlay is not this. You can see we have an overlay class right here. So if you remove this hidden class, and you check it, you will see that this is the overlay that we have. This is how it's going to look like. So by the time we add this modal to it, let me show you. You can see that the modal is at the back while the overlay is behind it, while the modal is in front of it. So by the time you click this X button, both the modal and the overlay goes back into hiding. So that's what you want to achieve in this. That's what you want to achieve after this.
So, sorry. What do you mean by overlay? I didn't get the modal. I know is the whole stuff.
This is what is called an overlay. This, you can see like a kind of a subtle black background on this.
Yes.
That's an overlay. It's more like how will I explain it? It's more like you have a background, you have something behind the scene. Okay, now you know a stage. When you're coming up
like
on a stage, it's a backstage. But you don't want people to see what is going on in the backstage. You have to put a cloth, like a linear cover to cover your backstage, so they can only see what is in front of the stage. That is simply that's what an overlay does. So what I'm trying to do here is, by the time you click on each of these buttons, the show modals and the like should just go to the background, and only what should show is the modal alone. That's what I mean by an overlay. That's what you're trying to achieve. Yeah. So let's just continue, and let me return this back. So we know that let's check what we have. So we know that we are back to our default.
So all that was achieved through the CSS, right?
Yeah, all that was achieved through the CSS, but we have to make it functional using JavaScript.
Okay.
So that means the only time it should happen is when you click on either of these buttons. That's when it should happen. So let's continue. So let's go to our JavaScript. We are going to select the overlay, const overlay equals document the query selector. We have dot overlay. So, and the next thing we have to do here is we have to now select our button. You have to see that we have a button close right here, which is this X button. can see we have close modal, which is this X button. So by the time we click it, we want the modal to go into hiding, which is document const show modal. I'm just going to show modal. So let me just do btn close, button close. Let me just call it something simple, button close const btn, sorry, const btn close. So it's just a short form for button equals document dot query selector. What is the name? Dot close. Is it close? What is the name of the
Close
dot?
button.
Is it close button? Okay, close modal. It is close modal. Close dash modal. Close dash modal. So it's telling me modal is not okay. Close dash modal. So what is the next thing we have to do? So who can tell me the next thing we want to do? So we have to select something here again. We have to select this show modal. We have to select this show modal. So let's open, let me duplicate this and do open modal, btn open modal open. So that's the open modal. So which is coming from here? Is it which is coming from show modal actually? It's coming from show modal, which is selecting all these three. But we are going to actually do something different here. Show modal. So who can tell me what you are supposed to do right here? Who can tell me something we are going to do right here? I made mention of it in the last class. So let's try it out. We have three of the modals right here. So why is this not working? Okay, we didn't console log it. btn open. So who can tell me what is going to happen? You can see that right here we have three modals, but we're only selecting one. So what do we need to do? Let's click on one of them. You can see we have btn show modal, and this is what it's giving us. So what do we have to do? What do we have to do? To be able to select the three of them, you can only see there's only one that is selecting. This happened in our last class. This actually happened in our last class. Can anyone tell us what we are going to do if you actually followed from the last class? We have three classes. I mentioned why this is happening. We have three classes of show modal, show modal, show modal. And in our JavaScript, we targeted it, but there's only one that is showing. Why is the only one that is showing? Can anyone tell us why that is? Unmute and speak. I don't want you to write in the chat box. Explain why we have to do that.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you said that when you are selecting document.query, select the first element. So if you want to select all of them, you have to put .all so that you select everything.
Okay, all right, that's actually true. It's not that you have to put .all, you just have to do query selector all. Once you do query selector all in front of it, everything you are going to actually select the three of them one after the other. So that's it. So let's select it. Let's click on one. So you can see now, I click on it and the three buttons are actually showing, which is 1, 2, 3. That is actually what is there. So Raheem, your hand is raised.
Good morning. Sorry for just a short chipping. I came across some instances where when they want to pick one of these selections, they use an array. Is it a good practice? Or
Yeah,
how can you be able to pick one?
we're actually going to get to that actually. We're actually going to get to that because normally what we want at this function is that by the time we click on one, we just want one of them to show, not the three of them actually. So what we have right here now is that if we click on one of them, it's the three of them that's going to show at once. But we don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen actually. So we are still going to go to that. That if you click on one, it's only one that you show, not the three of them. So we are going to get into that. Don't worry, we are going to get into array. By Friday, we are getting into array. So let's continue. So instead of using an array, we have to do, I made mention of something called a for each in the last class. So which is going to be this. For, I don't want, because I have not gotten into array yet, so I don't want to use an array. So we use for I, who can tell me the function of a for each? Oh yeah, someone should unmute and tell me while I'm typing it. Someone should unmute while I'm typing it.
Hello, sir. So I think for is for like when you want to do iterations, you
Yeah. Okay, so I've done this. So what's the next thing I have to do? I have to iterate it, I++. So what's going on? Okay, so that is what we have. So does anyone have any confusion with this? Does anyone have any confusion with this? Does anyone have any confusion with this? No. Okay, let me just console.log it. So you can see that what we just did right here is just trying to understand that if we click one of them, that is only that particular one we are going to show, which is going to be btn open at position 1 at that position. So let's see it. So if we click on model 7, where is that? Which one is actually console login? You can see that each one of them is actually picked out differently instead of the three of them. Can you see when we did a for each, instead of, you can see on line 5, when we did a console.log btn open, everything was console.log together. But by the time we did a for each one of them, you can see that it separates one of them one after the other. So if we are clicking on this one, it's just going to be that particular one that is going to show up, not the three of them at once. Do you understand what I did with the for each? Okay, so let's continue. Does anyone have any question? Do you have any question, please?
Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you, Josephine.
What loop that you used, was it for each? That loop is for loop now.
Yeah, it's a for loop. Yeah, it's a for loop. I mistake this for a for each. It's actually for loop. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. What is it? Okay. I get it now. Okay.
Yeah, it's a for loop, not a for each. It's actually a for loop. So it was, sorry for that mistake. Paul, your hand is raised.
Yes. My question is coming out from like you know what you just did now by console logging that btn open. It's like you are separating it from different from each of the button will have a different value inside, right? Like maybe I want to click that first model or the button to open a different thing that is not the paragraph, you get, because what you're doing right now, all of them will open the same paragraph, you get, right?
Wait, I think, yeah, wait, calm down. What I did here was simply that when, look at line 5, when I did a console.log on line 5, console Z, when I did a console.log on line 5, you can see that each one of them is console.logged. Like we have button.show modal, button.show modal, button.show modal. But if we actually want to work with this, if we actually eventually add an onClick function to this, an event listener to this, and we click on it, instead of this particular one to be clicked, it's the three of them that is going to be clicked at once. But we don't want that to happen. That's why we have a for loop on line 7. That's why we have a for loop on line 7 that, okay, console.log one of each. That means one of them, just that's what you have right there. So now You can see when I hover on it, we just have one for each one of them. We just have one for it's just so if we click on one now, it's not the three of them that is going to be selected. It's just that particular one that we clicked on that is going to be selected. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand you clearly. What I'm trying to ask is that in each of those show modal 1, 2, and 3, they are carrying the same
Yeah.
paragraph that will close and open. What I'm asking is that
Yes.
can we change the text? Can we change the paragraph? Like I want show modal 1 to show a different paragraph, show modal 2 to show a different paragraph. That's what I'm trying to
Yes,
ask.
you can
That can you work like that?
do that. You can actually do that. But if you are looking at it on our front end, in our HTML, you can see that we just have just one modal. We just have one text. So if you want to do that in your JavaScript, that means you have a double modal. You have two different modals, which is going to show. So by the time you are selecting one of them, you are just going to add the particular modal you want it to show on your front end. That's just it. You can actually use a single modal. You can actually use one of them to show multiple modal. That means on click of that button, you show this particular one. On click of the next button, you show a particular. It happens. You can actually work on that. It's still the same function you are going to use actually, but you just have to change the content inside it. That means you have to select a particular content. Probably the content you have right here, you have a different content and you have to give it a class name. So on select of a particular button, is that class you are going to show? Is that class of that particular button you are going to show? Well, I told you how to finish this. I have 15 minutes, so I can, or you don't want me to explain your task, so I can keep explaining this all over and over again. So sorry, let me just run this so that I can understand how to work with classes, because you're actually going to make use of this in your next task. So what do we want to do here? We have a btn open. So at position I, that's our position 1, then dot add event listener. Why is my emit not working? Event listener dot click. Okay, so function. So this is the same way we are calling a function right there, or we can just call the function externally and we can just do it right in our code. I'm going to call the function right here. Since we are not duplicating this. This is something we are just going to be doing one after the other. So what's the next thing? Who can tell me the next thing we want to do? Who can tell me the next thing we want to do after this? Who can tell me? Hello, anybody there? Anybody following? Who can tell me? Modal, nobody is following. Modal.class list. This is how you add a class list. This is how you add and remove a class list in JavaScript. Remove class list, the mode hidden. So what we are trying to do here is we are trying to remove, on click of this button, we have to remove this. We have to remove this hidden on this modal. You can see this modal now. We want to remove this class list. This hidden class that is on it, we want to remove it. That is what you are trying to achieve right here. So, do you understand?
Yes.
I
don't want a silent class. Do you understand?
Yeah, we understand. Although you've added a class list, so you did not explain class list, so there will be question. Although I understand.
I said modal.class list. If you check this modal now, you can see now on this modal, we have a modal and we have another class. That means we have two classes attached to this modal. So what is the thing we want to do right here? We want it that once we click on this modal, which is this modal right here, the class list, if you have 3 class lists attached to it, it's going to be the 3 class list. That means you have, let me add another class list here. Let me add something like show. So now this is it. You have class list, this is the modal, and every other class attached to it is hidden and show. So by the time you do a class list on that particular modal element, what you want to do is you want to remove a particular class, which is this hidden class. So let's save this and check what we have. So by the time we click on this button, why is it not working?
Did they add
BTN,
dots to the dot at the back of the
wait, it's saying BTN open is not a function. That's actually what this is saying. Oh, sorry, I know why. I added a curly braces to this, which is not supposed to be so. I added a BTN, so it's not. So the class list is actually informing it that it's actually a class. So let's open it. So you can see when I opened it, it's still the same thing. When I open this, it's actually still the same thing. So what this is doing right here is this class list is informing you that it's a class, it's not an ID. You don't have to put a dot in front of it. Since it's carrying a class list, JavaScript is actually smart. Let me use that word. JavaScript is actually class. It actually reads your code one after the other. That's why I made mention of it in the previous class that JavaScript runs synchronously. So it executes every line of code. This class list in the background of JavaScript makes it to know that, okay, this is a class. You can see it allows, when I hovered on it, it said allows for manipulation of element class content attributes set as white space separate token throughout your DOM manipulation list. So once you use a class list, it's telling it that yes, there is a class, this is a class attached to this function. So I want to remove this particular class from it. So that's what the class list does. So let me go back here, and I don't have any style for the show, so there's no need adding the show to it. So the next thing we also want to remove. So the next thing we also want to remove is the overlay. We want to remove the hidden class from the overlay. So we have overlay dot class list dot remove. So now if we click on this now, you can see we have it working. So the next thing we just want to do is once we click on this close button, you want everything to go back to the normal state it is. So what do we have to do? Now that I've done the first one, someone should tell us what to do. Someone should tell us what to do. Someone should tell us what to do. I'm waiting.
we have to add
I think I'm
where
going
the
to
remove
select
is, you
the
have to
button
add.
closed modal.
Okay, let's try it. BTN close modal. So let's do it. BTN close. Sorry. BTN close dot what? Dot add event listener. What are we doing next? Click
the function.
Okay. Okay, what next? Tell me what to do next. You are running.
I feel like we can just duplicate the BTN open, then change the open to close, then the hidden to show, the remove to add. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what you just have to do. Dot add hidden, and the next thing we also have to do is for the overlay. Let's just copy this. They are not actually the same function. They're actually different, and so we can't just copy and paste it. So let's add an overlay. So we add the overlay function to it. So, and with this, I think we are good to go. So let's try this out and let's close it. So our BTN open and close modal is actually working perfectly well. So does anyone have any question?
Sir, are you going to push this are you going to push it?
Yeah, I'm going to push it to GitHub.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's also something you always notice in our code, when you are working on some website. It's not until you click the X button before some of this modal closes actually. Do you know that? Hello?
Yes, some you click on
Can
the
just click
background.
anywhere
Yeah.
on the screen to close it.
You just click anywhere on the screen and it works and it actually closes. So what is the next thing? How do we achieve that? Can anyone tell me how we achieve that?
I'm sure we are going to add, I don't know, window.
Eh? I'm listening.
What's
Can
the
anyone
issue now?
Sorry, I was thinking we are going to select maybe like window or something, but it should be at the
we are
a
not
body.
selecting?
Body.
We can actually
Yeah.
select the window, but we don't want to use the window element. What you actually want to do is you want to add a click event, just what you did right on the close button, right here. We are just going to duplicate this and call it on the overlay. Overlay. That is what you are going to do. And yes, we have it right here. So let's try this out. So let's check it out. So I'm clicking on the outside part of the screen and you can see it closes. I don't have to click on this button before it closes. I can just click anywhere outside the screen, top, bottom, left, or right, and everything works. Yeah, Damilola, go ahead.
Can you go back a little bit? Like, can you explain a little bit? Sorry.
What should I explain?
Okay, I understand. It's okay. I understand, I guess.
Okay.
Is it that
So
you
you know
added
you
the same
what is
function in? Is it that you added the same function you have in BTN close to the overlay?
yeah, it's the same thing I have there. I just added it. So for us to follow the don't repeat yourself principle, this is what we are just going to do. We have a const function. We have a modal close modal equals this. So let's just cut this out. So we don't repeat ourselves. So let's also just remove this from here. So it's still the same function we need across. So the only thing we just have to do is just have to do something called close modal here. Close modal. And we are actually calling the function close, which is what we did previously when Josephine helped us in filling the add, working on the reset button. So we just have to do a close modal here. And yes, our code is going to work perfectly well the same way. Since it's the same function we have right there, you can see our code still works the same way as we have previously. So it's actually a good, when you have a code that's going to run multiple times, it's better you just create it in a variable. It's better you just create it in a variable and just call the function where you need it. Yeah, Josephine, your hand is raised.
Okay. Please, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask that overlay that you were having, how did you
Yeah.
put it? You know, we've already written the code before the class. I don't know. I just want to know how does the thing work? Is it like as I just
This is the
because I just
overlay.
saw a line of code?
Yeah, this is the overlay in the CSS. Where's my modal.css? So if you go to the CSS, you will see
Yeah.
this overlay class. This is the overlay class.
Okay.
This is the overlay class that is actually working. We have a background color of RGB and the like. So what we are just doing right here, if you check our HTML, you can see that the overlay is right there. We have a class of overlay already. But when our page is loading initially, it is hidden.
Okay.
The only thing you can see on our page when it loads up is just this three button. This show modal 1, show modal 2, show modal 3. That is what we just have. This our modal, this text is as a modal class and it's also hidden. This overlay also have an hidden class right there. So when we come to our JavaScript, when we click on that button, what do we want it to do? We want that modal to open and also the overlay to be seen. That is why we have this modal.classList.remove hidden. So we are removing the modal from it. We are removing this hidden class that we have right here on line 16. We are removing it. And on line And on line 8 of our JavaScript, we are actually removing the modal class. We are actually removing the hidden class and also the overlay. And when we want to close the function, we are adding the modal class. We are adding the hidden class back to the modal and to the overlay. So once it's open, once you click on it, first of all, right here, once you click on this, it opens. And once you click on the close button, it closes back. That is what we just did with what we have. Do you understand, Josephine? Josephine, do you understand?
Yes, I understand. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so it's actually a good practice for you not repeat yourself over and over again. So you just have to define the function once. And by the time you define the function once, you can just call it in multiple places where you need it. Yeah, Damlola, your hand is raised. Damlola, your hand is raised.
Sorry, it's a mistake. Sorry.
All right. Ovi, your hand is raised.
Please, I'm a bit confused. I would like to get the source code. Probably my confusion is coming from I don't really know what the CSS of that hidden does, so I can't really relate
Okay, this is
smoothly.
what the CSS of the hidden does. I just have a class name right here. I just have a class name right here with a hidden class. You can see I have hidden display none. It's just a CSS class for display none. Actually, it's just a class name. Well, Paul, why do you say don't repeat yourself principle does not work all the time? Do you understand now, Ovi? The hidden class there is just a simple display that I did of display none. So it doesn't have to. It doesn't. I just hide it on load of the application, and once I click a button, I remove the add but I remove the hidden class and I add it back when I close it. So that's just it. So I hope you understand. But definitely, you definitely get the source code. You definitely get the source code. Speaking of that, let me push it to GitHub right away. Don't worry, when I'm done with the class, I'm going to push it to GitHub and you can always have the source code. Yeah. So does anyone have any question from this? Does anyone have any question? Does anyone have any question? Are we sure we are clear with what we did in the class before I go into the task? Just an heads up into the task. I'm not doing something serious. All right. It's only Paul that is answering in the class. It's only Paul that is answering. Afolabi, do you have a question or I don't understand what you're saying. All right, no problem. You might not ask now. Abdul Karim, please go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
So my question is about the last function that you did, sir, on clicking on any other side of the overlay.
Okay.
So, yes, sir, that's my question, sir.
Okay, this overlay, you can add an event listener. One thing about event listener is you can add an event listener to anything. You can add an event listener to anything. So what I just did here was, what do we want to achieve if the overlay is clicked? It's simple. We want to close the overlay. What do we do when we want to close the overlay? The first thing we have to do is we have to add the class list that we added before, and we also have to add the overlay that we added before. So instead of me repeating myself twice right here, what did I do? I just created a generic function to close the modal. And when I have overlay, I added an event listener and I added a click event. This click event, when I added the click event and I called the close modal right here. So that is it. That's everything about the overlay. So it's just like a close function which I created over and over. I just created a close function on line 13 and I called it on line 18 and on line 20 so that I don't have to repeat myself. So I'm following the right procedure. That's just it. Yeah, yes, Siras, your hand was raised. Yes,
Yeah,
Siras, your hand was raised.
good morning, sir.
Yeah,
Good morning, sir.
Lucy.
I want to ask that can we use this modal JavaScript code for when we are building a single page website for the navbar?
Yes, you can
Like when you
actually.
want the navbar, immediately.
Definitely,
Okay.
that's the same thing you are going to do. That's the same thing for the hamburger menu. That's what you are
Yeah.
going to do. When you are on a large screen, you have to hide it, and when you get to a certain screen, you have to open it. That's it, actually.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So I think for now we are done. We are done with the class, and let's move on to the task. Okay, what is the task that we are working on? The task we are actually working on is a dice roll game. And what is the dice roll game about? I'm going to show you a demo of the game. I saw it online somewhere and I just got the source code. So this is it. What are you doing? Let me open the site. This is pig-game-version 2, yeah, .netlify .app. So this is the game. This is the game you are going to build. I have given you the HTML and CSS already. So what are you doing? When you roll these dice, you can see we have 5 at the current number. Once you have 5 at the current number, you can decide to roll again or you can decide to hold. If you click on hold, the game switches to player 2, and player 2 has to roll the dice. Oh, player 2 got 1, and for the function of player 2 is that once the rule of the game is that if you get a 1, you have lost your round. The game has to switch over to the next person. Are you understanding the way I'm explaining the game?
Yes.
Guys, are you understanding?
A little bit.
No,
Please,
sir.
No, we are not
Okay,
understanding,
so
sir.
let me restart the game. So now this is it. You have the when if you check the resources, of the task, you will see a GitHub repository right there, which has the HTML and CSS of the code, which have the HTML and CSS code of this game. So what do you want to do? The first thing you have to do is, first thing about the game is, one, if you start the game, you have zero, each player has 0, 0. And once you click on roll dice, each user gets a number. A user can decide to keep rolling the dice or he decides to hold. Once a user holds the game, once a user holds that number, the number is added to the player, is added to the score of the player. So player 2 is now player 2's turn to play. And you click on roll dice, it has a 4. You can decide to roll or decide to hold. If you rolls again, that number that it goes from here is added to the current number, which gives him 7. That is 4 plus 7. 4 plus 3 equals 7. If he decides to roll again, he has a 4. 7 plus 3, 7 plus 4 equals 11. So 7 plus 4 equals 11. So the user can keep rolling, but the player 2 can keep rolling as many times as he wants. But if player 2 at any point in time, he has been rolling, he has gotten, his score is now 100 or is 50 something, and he has a 1. Let's roll a dice and see if the user is going to get a 1 at this time. You can see, let's split it. The player 2 gets a 1. So you can see now, player 2 got a 1. And by the time player 2 got a 1, the current score became 0 automatically. And the game switches to player 2. So player 2 rolls a dice, he has 6, he holds, let's and the simple rule of the game is anybody that gets to 100 first wins the game. So let's keep playing till someone gets to 100. Let's keep playing till someone gets to 100 so we can see how it works. Let's just keep playing. So I can show you a demo. I'm showing you a demo of it and you can see how it works. If you have any question, you can still unmute and speak. So I know we are all following. You can see that once any user has 1, it switches automatically. Once any user has 1, you want to place a bet, it's player 2 that is going to win. Okay, let's see. So once any player has 1, it automatically goes to 0 and the game switches to the next person. So let's keep playing. 26. So let's keep playing and see. So let's keep playing. Let's keep playing. So we have to get to 50. You have to get to 50. I'll be 100 rather. The first person to get to 100. The first person to get to 100 wins the game. So you can see player 1 adds 0 and it automatically switched to the next player. So you roll, you have.
Sorry, sir, I want to ask something now. This current, is it the current scores that needs to show 100?
No, it's the number of the dice. It's the number of the dice that is rolled that is showed on the current. It's the number of the dice.
Because I'm seeing that the dice touch 1 and the stop didn't go back to 0.
It went back to, okay, wait, let's try it again. So we have
had 1, but it didn't go back to 0. I noticed it.
Okay, let's see it. Okay, now let's roll the dice. Player 2 stones to play now. So let's roll the dice. You can see he has 1. He has 1 and it's 0. The function is that once any player has a 1, the current score becomes automatically 0 and the game switches to the next player. So that is it. So let player 1 roll the dice. Player 1 also rolled 1. He also rolled 1. So it has to move on to the next player. So let's player 2 roll the dice. Player 2 rolled a 4 and is going to hold. By the time he clicks on hold, the game switches to the next player. So let's player 1 roll the dice. Player 1 has 4. He holds. That's 60. Player 2 add 1. The game automatically switches to player 1. Player 1 rolls the dice. He has a 2. The game automatically switches to player 2. So that is how it keeps rolling until they eventually get to 100. So let me try getting to 100 and see what we have. Paul, are you still sure player 2 is still going to win this game?
So it's like you're doing
is it not? Yeah?
So you're not holding for player 2 at times.
You are now holding, yes. You said that player 2 will continue to roll until player 2 has 1. But you are now holding for player 2.
I'm doing it for both of them. I'm holding for both of them. Once a player rolls, I hold for both of them. Okay, so roll it.
Not saying it.
You're right.
This is it. Okay, now let me now roll these dice. I roll the dice now. I have 5 and I hold. It goes to the next player. That's what I've been doing. Player 2 also has 5. I hold. That's how I've been doing all this.
Probably you are rooting for player 1.
So player 2. So all of you rooting for player 1, all of you rooting for player 2. Don't change your mind at this point. You don't know what can happen. So let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling and see. So let player 2 roll. Player 2 has 1. So that's why the score is 0. Player 1, both of them have 1-1. So the game is automatically switching. So player 2 has 5 and he holds. So he's 70. Just 5 away from player 1. So let's see. Player 1 rolls the dice. He has 1. Player 2 rolls the dice, he has 1. They keep rolling, they have 1-1. So let's see. Player 2 has 3 and he owes, that's 73-75. So let player 1 rolls the dice. Player 1 has 2. That is 77-75. So let's see what player 2 is going to roll now. Player 2 rolls 1. The game is over. It switch over to the next player. Player 1 rolls 2. Let's see. Now player 2 stun. He has a 4. So let player 1 roll. He has a 5. Paul, are you still okay? Paul is written for player 2 while Michael is written for player 1. So let's see. Roll a dice now again. So who is rolling a dice now is player 2. Let player 2 roll a dice. He has 4. He has added 4, 81, 83. So just 3-point difference. Let player 1 roll the dice now. Player 1 has 6. So player 1 holds. So Paul, let player 2 roll the dice. Player 2 has 2. So let player 1 roll the dice. He has 6 again. Paul, are you still rooting for player 2? Or you are
I
rooting
feel
for player 1?
that thing, it's like we're doubling this player 1, no, because
It's a random game. No double
Yes,
is there.
sir. Yes, sir. Don't
It's a
confuse
random
that
game.
for
I'm not
player
doing
two,
anything
sir.
to you,
Rest
actually. It's a random game.
for
Paul,
player
don't worry. That's how it works.
two, sir. Rest of the
So you never can tell. Player 1 can start rolling 1-1-1-1-1, and player 2 can keep start rolling 6-6, and player 2 can still win. So you go explain tire, Paul. So let's keep rolling. Let player 2 roll the dice. Player 2 has 3. Player 1, what are you going to roll? Player 1 has 3, so he has 99. Paul, are you giving up at this point, or you are still following through? You don't know. Paul, why are you?
The game is so.
So now let's roll the dice for player 2. Let's see what player 2 is going to have. Player 2 has a 6. Wow, player 2 is coming back. Can you see? Paul, you have a little faith actually. So let's roll. 92, 96. Paul, hope you are praying that player 1 should have just 1 and the game switch over to player 2. Paul.
sir, this
Okay.
thing, but let the person have 0 now, be. It's just one that the player 9. Player 1 only 1.
One does not carry.
Player 2 one does not carry anything actually. Player 1 has 4, and let's now see. Once you click on hold, you can see what happens. Player 1 won the game, and when you win the game, the background color becomes black. And
No, this thing, God.
So this is the game you guys are going to implement. This is the demo you are going to implement. So I have shown you how you are going to play the game, and I'm also going to include this link, this demo link in the source code, so that you guys can actually see it and you understand the logic behind it. So does anyone have any question about the game? Does anyone have any question about the game?
Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
The way you played it, is there any video that plays it like this, so that even if I can just watch the video and know what else I'm missing?
I'm going to actually, the link to this game, I'm actually going to drop it. I'm going to attach it to the assignment so that you can always play the game at every point to know what is next. So you don't have to keep watching the YouTube videos to see the game. I'm going to include this game link I'm going to include the link in the game, so you can actually follow through with it. Just play the game and understand the concept of the game before you start following the tasks. Adelaja, your hand is raised.
Sir, is there anything like reset? Like I can see new game. And if you
Yeah,
click
if
it,
you
what
click on
happens?
it automatically resets. You can see. Once you
Okay.
click on everything goes back to it's just the same thing we did in the previous game in the roll it
Yeah.
guess your number. It's the same thing you're just going to implement here, but just a little twist to it.
Okay.
So the twist to this game is that wait, should I allow you guys figure this thing out, or I want you guys to now that this random number, the random number that is gotten is a random. We are using mat.trunc. We are still using mat.trunc and match random number times 6. That's still the same thing. I'm already giving you an int to the tax already. We are still using the same thing, but the plus to it is that dice you are seeing is an image. That dice you're actually seeing is an image that I'm adding from the JavaScript. That dice that is shown on the screen is actually added from the JavaScript. So it depends on the number that the player generates. That's what is going to show on the dice. So there are, for the tags, if you check the image folder, there's a dice 1 to 6. There's dice 1 to 6. A picture of dice 1 to 6 right in the images folder, which is what you are going to use in your JavaScript. Wow, I have so many hand raised. Okay, Paul. Michael, go ahead. Michael Adele, your hand is raised.
Okay, so my question is just the HTML and CSS file that is there. Is it the one we're going to use, or we have to create our own?
Yeah, you don't need to create one. I'm giving you the source code already now. Just download the GitHub repository. Just download it and use it. You don't have to create. I want you guys to just focus on functionalities alone,
Oh,
not
okay.
HTML and CSS. That's
Oh,
it.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Ov, go ahead.
Okay, I'll be hearing mat.trunc. Is it the same thing as mat.flow? Does it work the same way?
Yeah, they work the same way. I mean, you asked this question in the last class. They actually work. Let's go to MDN documentation and see MDN documentation. So MDN documentation JavaScript. So we can actually understand it. So we don't just use head knowledge and we miss it out. So it's always a reference for us at this point. Mat.trunc. Where is it? Mat.trunc. You can see mat.trunc. Mat.trunc static method returns the integer of a number by removing any fractional digits. So now if you can see now we have if you can see the demo we have right here, console.log 13.37 equals what? Mat equals 13. It's just giving you the whole number. It's just giving you the whole number. It's not adding. Let's now check mat.flow. I think what mat.flow is going to round it up. What mat.flow is going to do is actually going to round it up. What mat.flow is actually going to round it up also. Okay, it's actually the same thing. Okay, what it does here is mat.flow static method allows round down and return the largest integer lesser than the equal value given. So do I understand that? Okay, what trunc actually does is it gives you the whole number, but what floor does for you is like it rounds it up totally and gives you the largest integer lesser or equals to the number. That's actually what it does. So now you can actually see on line 5, on line 1, console.log math.flow 9.5.95. What this actually does is that if you round up, if in our decimal places, once we have something greater than 1, once you have something greater than 5, you add the value to the next number, right? Ovi, was it Ovi that asked that question?
Yes,
Ovi,
yes.
so you know that if when we were doing maths in secondary school, once you have 5.90, once you have 5.95, any number that is greater than 5, you add it round up to 1 automatically. And any number that is greater than 0, any number that is lesser than 5 rounds up to 0. You know that.
Yes, it remains the
So
whole number.
so now on line 1, console.logmat.flow equals, what do we have? We have 0, 5 plus 1 equals 10, and there's no 10 whole number. What do we have? We have 0. That is equals 5.0. Then if you want to round up 0, 0 is actually 0. It is not going to give you any whole number or integer. So your final result here is going to be 5. What you have right here on line 4 is math 5.05. When you round up 5, it gives you 1. When you put 1 on 0, it's still 1. When you're rounding up 5, when you're rounding up 1, it's still 5. You cannot carry the 1 that you have on 0. I'm actually teaching maths at this point. It's actually some basic math. So it's still the same thing we have all through. Math.flow is actually going to round up the number. And if you have a number, the nearest number, if it's greater than 0, if it's greater than 5, it's going to round it up to a 1 and add that 1 to the whole number. That is what it's going to do. So do you understand, Ovi?
Yes, sir. Mass of flow is just rounding down the numbers.
Yeah, it's just rounding down the number actually. Always
Yeah,
round down
it's
the
just
result. Just round it.
5.95. It's just round it down, sir. You suppose
Yeah, you just round it.
5.95 to give us 6, but it will give us the nearest lowest. The nearest
Yeah, it's
lowest. That's
math.
5.95 is the 5. So that's why it's doing, sir. That's what it's doing, sir. And this
Yes.
minus 5.05 is actually give us 6. Means minus 6 is less than minus 5.05. That's what it's
Yeah.
doing.
So you understand the maths. You are not a maths
5.05.
class.
That's
So
what it's doing.
yeah. Paul, Abdul Karim, do you have a question? Or your hand is raised.
Yes, sir. The question is that
Tell me now.
how will I implement the random number, sir? The image, sir. How will I make them to be changing randomly as
Well,
as I click it to be changing?
I want you guys to go and make a research on that. It's
Yeah.
actually simple. It's actually simple. It's actually simple. But don't worry. I don't want to say I'm going to do it for you guys actually. But should I help you guys do that in the source code?
Sir, please, I have a lead meeting now. Please, can I ask my question just fast, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what I wanted to ask or clarify is that we can use any method we know best to do this task, Abi. It's not, yeah, it must be
You
your
can use.
kind of.
I'm not giving you any particular method to use.
Okay.
Just what I know is that the
The game
functionalities
to
of the
work.
game has to work perfectly well.
All right, no problem,
As
sir.
seen in the demo. So, and I'm going to test for that. So now you're not working with. I'm not telling you to make it responsive or anything. What I'm just asking you to do is just work on functionalities, which is what we are going to be working with. So you don't need to focus on HTML and CSS. I've given you the HTML and CSS code already. That's just it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, Ezekiel, go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So please, for the dice, the images, can we
Yeah.
use numbers if we want?
Eh?
Use numbers if we want. I said for the images,
Yeah.
for the dice, can we use numbers if we want?
You can use numbers if you want because the dice is there actually. The
Yeah,
dice
yeah.
images are there.
Yes, I will do it like a dice, but there will be numbers there, 1, 2, 3 or something.
No. You
Okay, sir.
actually have to use the dice that is there. Don't worry, I'm still contemplating. Probably I should set up the dice roll for you guys, but I want you guys to actually do it. But if you guys cannot do it, that's the first thing I'm going to do on Friday. I'm just going to give you no, I'm not going to do it. It's a task. I want you guys to think about just just research for materials how you can convert a number to just research about it. It's actually simple, to be honest. It's just you. Let me just give you an hint on how to do it. Once you have once you have done once you have generated the number, once you have done the math.random number, you now have to do something. The name of the image while you are using it in your JavaScript, you have to use your image source the same way you are using it. Something like this. Let me show you. Let me show you how it's done. I think I can probably let me just check the source code and see. There's also a way for you to be able to check source code as a front-end developer. You can actually see the source code of your application, of any application you want. So let's roll the dice actually. Let's roll the dice. 5. So let's check this. You can see -5.png. Let me check the source code. Where's the source? Source. I'm coming. Where's the JavaScript? Oh, I have actually no. I'm not going to do this. Oh God, I have given you guys the answer to this tax already.
Yes, I see what you're doing, sir.
I have given you the answer to this tax already.
Don't worry, some of us don't know.
Let me ask this question. Sorry.
You're telling me you don't know, but
I was going to ask.
Falabi, go ahead.
Okay, can we actually? Is it compulsory to set it to 100, like the final game, the final score?
Well,
that one. Can you send to?
Well, for you, when you are testing, you might not decide to set it to 100, so you don't have to stay long. You can actually set it to 20 or just a lesser number. But when you want to actually finally push to production, when you want to host it, when you are done finally, just convert it to 100. Actually.
Okay, when a player now wins the game, like the background is going to change. Like, will I be the one that will do that on JavaScript?
Yeah, I need to be the one to do it now. It's your code. You are just going to manipulate the style the same way we did with our game. That once a user gets the correct number, everything changes to green. The background changes. Yeah, so it's the same thing. Once a particular player wins, what are you going to do? You are just going to change that particular player background color to a black. That's just it.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so
and
thank you very much. Yeah? Ovi, what did you say?
I was like, can we later add the sounds to it? Maybe when the user wins. Like
you want to add the sound. Hey, if you can add it, you can add it. You can add a sound to it. That's actually good. Ovi has added more tags for you guys. I'm going to update the tags. Add a sound to it.
No, we don't want that.
Sound, yeah. God, I beg.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much for attending today's class. Do have a wonderful day ahead. We'll see you on Friday. And I'm always